Hello, and welcome to the 2020 Portland Film Festival presented by Comcast. This year's festival is jam-packed with films, workshops, panels, and more. To find out more information about the films you're going to be hearing about today, or to buy tickets, just go online to pdxff.com. My name is Joe Stevens. I'm the Director of Programming, and I'd like to welcome our 2020 filmmakers to our panel today. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Joe.
Would you like to introduce yourself and introduce your film?
Sure. My name is Tracy Lehman. I'm the writer, director, and one of the producers on Ghosted. And it's premiering at PDXFF 2020.
Could you give us a quick synopsis?
Absolutely. Ghosted is a story of a woman with a lot of baggage who falls in love with a man haunted by his past. And this one is literally, Joe, she's literally carrying around a lot of baggage, and he's literally followed by the ghost of his ex. So it's a story about how we carry around things we don't need, and we're kind of live in the past a little bit, and the power of love can teach you that you don't need to do that.
That's a very interesting premise. Where did you come up with this story?
A lot of my stories are personal, for better or worse. A lot of my stories are personal experience, and this particular one, one of my producers, Alex Lake, my lead producer, he always jokes, "Are we just making movies about your dating life?" Because they're often inspired by my dating life. So sorry, but this one, I fell in love with a widower a few years ago, and I felt that he was really kind of stuck in the past a little bit, not to judge it, but just still attached to his grief. And so I kind of felt like his ex was still in the room a lot of the time. But I'm not one to just, point blame at someone else. So I thought, well, what am I bringing to this? It can't just be him, And so I thought, oh, I'm bringing a lot of baggage, like a lot. So I just made it literally to kind of like remind myself what I learned from it, which was a beautiful relationship that didn't work at the time, or isn't, we're not meant to be that way. But so I made this woman carry around her baggage and him be followed by his ghost.
I'll say, making very personal stories to you. I remember you were the 2018 festival with Mixed Signals.
Yeah. It's true. Mixed Signals was the short that I screened at my first time at Portland Film Festival, which was amazing. Mixed Signals is a story about a man and a woman misunderstanding each other, and it's all about a kiss gone wrong. But I learned from these things. I learned and then I share. Yeah.
Now, say your props team probably had a fun time getting all of that antique baggage just collected. Did you have any problems getting anything, any of your locations?
We, with Mixed Signals, with the one before, it was at one location, just a couple actors. And this one, I was like, let's go big. We've got such a great team. Let's just see how far we can go. And my amazing producer, Alex Lake, was with me every step of the way. Didn't hold me back. And we're like, we'll figure it out. So we had different locations. Xander Eston, the costume designer, we went to Warner Brothers and we pulled, we really showed the arc of the characters through the costumes and Ghosted, and Alex, thank God, he just kept rolling with it. But we had an amazing art team, Fernando Mariquin and Adam Dix, who also did our poster. If you've seen our poster, I really love our poster. But everybody was working so well together to create this kind of like storybook fairy tale, Wes Anderson, Tim Burton kind of world, and I'm really grateful for them. Yeah,
I did love your colors in this movie. It was beautiful.
Adam comes from animation. Adam Dix, our art director, and he used to be my downstairs neighbor. And we used to have a drink and talk about character all the time, And then he moved away, and I missed him. I said, "Come work with me." So he works in animation. And when I was going to do this live action, but I said I want it to have an animated feel. So can you help me figure out how to make them almost like, these characters are from another world. They are like animated in a way. So he was with me from the beginning.
Do you have a favorite moment on set with your actors and your producers, with anybody? Any favorite moments?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I have to say one of my favorite moments is because my original script for Ghosted this isn't on set. This is actually in a private rehearsal, but I love my crew and we had amazing moments on set. But the first kind of chemistry read that I had with our actress Alyssa Swade and our actor Joseph David Reitman, They came over to my apartment, and and we read the script, which originally she was very aware of her baggage, and it was a much darker piece, and tonally. And she sat down and they read it, and Alyssa Swade read it with just light, unaware of her baggage. And I thought, that's it. She went to the restroom, and Joe and I looked at each other, like, we have to do this. That is the tone. It's a totally different tone. We have to honor that. That is what it is. So that was my favorite moment.
That was great. Yeah, I especially loved the ending scene with that. Yeah.
At the end, it was a different ending. And then, I'm not to give anything away, but it was a different ending, and it was a little happier. And then Joe told me on set, he came to me privately and said, I don't feel that way. I'm losing everything. I don't feel happy. It was originally a happy ending, kind of a happy ending. And he's such an incredible actor, and we have such trust and synergy. I really love him. And I thought, I have to honor this. We need to shoot it this way. And I got chills in the end, the very last shot. And I was like, oh, wow. They say you might make one movie when you write it, one when you shoot, one when you edit it. So I'm trying to always honor and kind of sculpt it as it goes,
I really love that. He made a great call. I loved the ending. It was
yeah, really, really smart guy. They're both amazing. Yeah.
Could you describe with one word how you want people to walk away feeling?
I think free, free of their past and their baggage, and just you don't have to carry that stuff around.
We'll have someone here for you. Yeah. Do you have any projects coming up?
I do. I'm writing a new feature, an LGBTQ feature that I'm really excited about, and also a sitcom version of that. And I have a couple more, a comedic thriller that's set in the Pacific Northwest. I just spent a month up there kind of scouting, visited the coroner. It's a comedic thriller. So I visited the coroner, the dentist, the mortuary. I mean, it was an interesting trip. But I'm really excited about that one. But that one I'm just writing now. So.
Oh, that sounds fun. I want to thank you for joining us today, and thank you for all your hard work making this film. It was incredible.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you guys for doing all this. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And can you tell us what block you're in, off the top of your head?
We're in the comedy block. I'm trying to remember the exact name of it, but I don't want to get the name wrong. It's the comedy block. We're Ghosted Short Film on all social media, and we've been posting about it, so it's easy to find. And we're very happy to be a part of this festival. Thank you so much.
We're so glad to have you. Thank you, Tracy. And you can catch Ghosted as a part of the Laughing at You short block.
Thank you.
pdxfm.com.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, let's bring in our next guest. Hi, good morning. You're muted.
I'm muted. Thank you. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Howdy. I'm doing well. Would you mind introducing yourself and introducing your film?
Of course. So my name is Sean David Christensen. I'm the lead singer of Maggie Dave, which is an alternative pop band here in Los Angeles. And I was the producer of I'm Not Ready, which was an animated music video by Cassie Shao.
Could you give us the quickest synopsis of this little animation?
Yeah, of course. So it's about a sheep man who is patiently waiting for a train that is endlessly delayed. And he's in a kind of dreamscape world that constantly changes perspectives and locations.
I'll say whenever I watch a music video, I always get sidetracked by the music. And Dreamscape is perfect because this dream pop vibe this band had was really... I had to watch it about 3 or 4 times to actually pay attention to the film. But yeah, I'd say the animation style was beautiful. I've never seen that before.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. God. Have you seen your film resonate with people?
Well, I think that's a great question. I mean, I kind of look at a music video in the same way that I would a song. You know, as a band, we kind of create songs, and they sort of live in the. It's hard to like determine where a song will end up in someone's mind. You know, depending on where they listen to it, what point in their life they are when they hear a song, when they receive it. So the best that we can hope for as a band is that our listeners just allow themselves to listen and have the song move through them. So I try not to assign a meaning or an imperative. Like I hope you feel this way when you hear a song. You know, I've heard songs at different points in my life and they just resonate differently. And coming from a music background, that's one of the greatest gifts of music. You know, you can listen to it at any time of the day, and it changes as you get older. You know,
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. Do you guys have any memorable moments creating this this video?
Yeah. So Cassie Shao, she's the real. I mean, her vision was so unique. And if I may, I'd like to just read a little excerpt of an interview because she's not here with us, but she talks about where she comes, where she arrives at her inspirations for her films. And she says, "My primary inspirations come from my dreams. I dream almost every night, almost always about strange scenarios. If I like them enough when I wake up, I'll immediately write them down in my dream journal. As I work, I'll refer to this journal constantly for visual ideas." And she described this process to me, which I have a very hands-off approach when working with visual artists who collaborate with our band Maggie Dave, because it's this kind of freeing opportunity to just kind of gift one of our songs to an artist and let them explore at their own pace, because no one else can see the world like Cassie. You know, she has this this fine-tuned, kind of fragmented, surreal sort of way she looks at the world. So who am I to come in and say, "Hey, can you make the hand this way? Can you make the eyes this shape? Can you make the walls blue?" You know, it's she is an absolute artist and visionary, and it was a privilege to just kind of gift this song to her and let her take it in any direction. And that memorable moment that you asked is, you know, when she said her first concept for the video. She said, "I had this dream that I was underground waiting for a train, and there's a rubber duck that falls through a chute, and you know, I'm standing by a pond, and I'm just listening to this, and I'm like, great, yeah, whatever you want to do." And that's kind of the same relationship I like to have the band with our listeners. You know, whatever experience that this song awakens within you, who am I to say that's not what I imagine? You know, that's your personal relationship to the song. So Cassie's relationship was very personal and very memorable for me.
It was. I would say the song and the video pairs so well together. It just, yeah. What was the most challenging thing you had to face putting this together?
Well, I mean, the challenge is really within the songwriting process for me. I when listeners get a chance to listen to the song, it's a very short song, but I wrote it in about 15 minutes when I got home one night after hanging out with a friend, and I just went with my first draft. I just sat down at my keyboard and just played the melody and just sang in my bedroom. And I think the challenge is knowing, and this kind of applies to songwriters or filmmakers, knowing when it's enough, when you've done enough drafts to know it's enough, or really listen to your gut and just listen to that harmony that resonates. And when I finished the first take of the song, the first draft, I got that, there's a great quote by Quincy Jones. He says, it's God's divining rod, you know, like the hairs on your arm. And I just, that feeling of like, I think it's done. And so the challenge for me was to listen to that voice inside that said, just trust that it feels good to you. And if it feels good to you, chances are it'll feel good to somebody else. Yeah.
I like that overlap that you get between, your side of the music and what Tracy had mentioned earlier about trusting your guts and knowing when your project is exactly how you wanted it to be. How important do you think it is to not let somebody come in and overproduce what you wanted to work on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Gosh, that's tricky because sometimes you can get to know somebody early on, and then you get halfway through a project, and a different dimension kind of reveals itself, and you're like, oh, we see things very differently. Sometimes it's hard to collaborate with friends. Sometimes there can be so much history between friends that the project becomes burdened with this, weight of the past. So I think the good kind of middle ground is you have to assert that you have a point of view, you have something to say, and your producer should be facilitating the best way to shape and craft your original voice without, turning the wheel too hard to the right or left and getting it completely off track. Tracy talks about baggage from her film, Ghosted. And I think that's a challenge for filmmakers to release themselves of this baggage of it has to be perfect. It has to be, and it's like, no, it just has to be good. It just has to be really good and true. And done is better than a perfect project that's never finished,
Yeah.
So.
I like that. Now, you've said earlier you don't want to tell people how they should walk away feeling, but how did you walk away feeling from this project?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I feel gratitude to Cassie. I mean, I met her through USC. We're both grads there, and I met her through the animation program. And when I saw her thesis film, there were 4 of us. It was this stunning piece of work that just had such a voice and an authenticity to it. And I just walked up to her and I said, I'd love to keep in touch. And when I approached her with this project and she took it on and made it a personal statement that resonated with her, I just felt such a gratitude that she was able to bring something to the project that I never saw. And now when I listen to the song, I only think of her video. And I think of the memories of getting to know her and getting to support this amazing artist, Cassie Shao. So I feel gratitude for the trust she placed in me as an artist, the same that trust I gave to her. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Do you have any other projects, in the works?
We do. So Cassie and I are working on a new music video for our upcoming single, which we're aiming to release in February. But you can see what the band's up to at maggiedave.com. And our Spotify page is pretty lonesome. We only have 1 song, but we're working on new songs to add there in the coming months ahead. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You can catch Maggie Dave, pardon me, I'm Not Ready, and the Music Method Shorts block dropping today. That's part of our second week.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you so much to your staff. And it's been a great experience. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay, let's bring in our next guest. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
Pretty good. Yeah. I'm moving, so I'm packing all my shit, and it's always hard. Oops.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Would you like to introduce yourself and your film?
Sure. I'm Sarah Hertzberg, and my film is called Rising Sun Blues, and it is a short music video experience.
Experience is certainly a word I use. Now, I don't quite know where it was. How was the shooting experience? Tell us where it was shot?
It was shot in New Orleans at a place called the Hacienda. And it's a sex positive mansion where they host parties, and they host people to come and do photo shoots and do film shoots.
Where did you get the idea to make this film?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's made for, or I mean, it was made with an eye of it sort of being an adult film, and it definitely kind of overlaps between kind of being, I don't know, mainstream music video and being a little bit more adult themed. It kind of doesn't fit quite into either category. But I got the idea, I knew I was going out there to help work with Madison Young, who's a adult filmmaker, and she offered me the space, and Marion Hill was the cinematographer, and she's amazing. And I, recorded the song because I knew we're going to be in New Orleans, and it's a very like kind of dark, ghostly version of the song. And originally I had really wanted it to be raining and have like this whole like rain vibe, and like really like sort of like poetic in that way. But it wasn't raining, so we did it like this, and the bath worked out well. So.
Yeah, that's the problem with shooting in New Orleans and not Portland. It doesn't rain as much.
I know, right? But when it rains, it pours. That's different.
How have you seen your film resonate with audiences?
Well, it's hard because it's not in person, so I don't really get much of the reaction in real time. And also the audiences, so it's been in several kind of adult film festivals, porn festivals. But that's just because that's like, I wasn't sure if it would be accepted into mainstream cinema. And so I'm actually really grateful that y'all decided to choose it, because I think it deserves a wider audience. It's aesthetically really beautiful, and I think really fits in. But so I went to one of the screening pods the other day, so it was just my friends, but it was really fun to watch it, like in conjunction with a couple other shorts in the program. And Josh had like curated a specific program for us, and it was like sort of like mysterious, like girl gaze, like sort of musical, kind of like weird shorts. And it was perfect. It like all fit together so well. So that was really fun to see.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
What was the most challenging aspect of making this film?
I have something, but I don't know if I should say it on camera. But I don't know. It was so this is my first like film that I've made. I come from a performance art background, dance, and sort of on in theater stages, and I've done some like singing on video, and a little editing and stuff like that. But this was really the first time that I like did all of it all together, and I think like the challenging part was sort of I had an amazing person edit it, and I think the challenging part was like letting her edit and like letting go of like I'm like, okay, well I want it like this and this and this and this, but it was nice to just kind of like have this really truly collaborative process with everybody. Yeah.
So you're the writer and director. How important do you think flexibility is in that aspect for giving it over to the editor to make some changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think the just like trust and collaboration. Sean, I think, was the last one who was talking about, collaborating, and sometimes it's really difficult, and sometimes it just flows and it works really well. And I, felt really, really lucky to have the whole team that I worked with, even though I did a lot of the components, like every piece of it needed a lot of, people around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your most memorable moment on set?
One of the actors, I put out an open call on Tinder. I said that I was looking for someone to shoot in a film with me. And I got a response from someone on Tinder that was like, hey, I'd love to be in your film. So one of the actors, I won't tell you which one, came from a Tinder open call.
I've got to say, I've never heard of Tinder being used as a casting, but that's very interesting.
It's the future.
We'd like to ask about happy accidents. Is there something you hadn't quite intended to make it into the film that you've included because it just enhanced everything?
The very first shot is this sort of flash on the ghost bodies. It's kind of, so the idea is that there's these ghosts of ancestors of whores from long ago, in the whorehouse. And the Rising Sun Blues was an alternate name for House of the Rising Sun. And it was a traditional song that they sang. And they say it was, about sort of someone working in a whorehouse and, so someone coming and being a John in a whorehouse. But I sort of wanted to liberate the whores, and it's sort of this dark and mysterious song, but at the same time, it's I wanted to give them, the sensuality and life and sort of joy and pleasure. And so the very first shot is the 5 ghost ancestors, and it's just this little flash. And I think it was kind of a mistake that was in the editing room, and but I saw it and I was like, oh my god, I love this, this little tiny flash of this prelude or whatever.
There you go. How do you want people to walk away feeling? How would you?
Yeah, I heard you ask that question before, and I was thinking about it. I think after you've taken a really hot shower and you just emerge from it, and you're it's there's steam coming out, and you've washed away all your I don't know, gunk, and emerged a brand new woman or person. I want that feeling, stepping out of a really hot shower.
Nice and refreshed. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. I said you're in the middle of a move, so that how is that? How do you have any projects coming up, and how's this move affecting anything?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, I'm not really I'm as much of a filmmaker as I am. I've got a little short film in a festival. This film is going to a couple other festivals, and then I've got a little one in on ecosexuality in a festival in Amsterdam. I can't remember what it's called, but Annie Sprinkle was curating a set of 1-minute short films. But I'm moving to San Francisco, and I'm actually a graduate student in counseling psychology, in transpersonal counseling psychology. So I'm kind of I'm always going to be doing more passion projects, but at the moment I'm sort of trying to focus on school, but got to have a million hands in all the pots.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Your film was very beautiful. It was, thank you again for joining us. You can find Sarah Hertzberg, Rising Sun Blues in the, hold on a second.
I think it's also in the music. Yeah, it's in the music one.
I believe it is. Yes, those dropped today.
Cool. Can I just give a shout out also that go to the film pods? They are awesome. They're so much fun, and it was a really cool experience and such a new way of doing it. And thank you so much for including me. I love it, and I'm just so happy to be a part of this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I think we have 2 more today.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon here. Mm-hmm.
Would you mind introducing yourself and your film?
Yeah, I'm Jackie Party Scripts, and I directed the music video for K. Astra, Softly Tread. And I'm here in Austin, Texas, and it's a beautiful day today.
Could you give us a quick synopsis of your film?
So, the film is about K. Astra, and she's this beautiful kind of retro glam 70s woman, and she's alone in this house, and she's processing her emotions. And we don't know what her history is or her background, but she's kind of going through the house and using it as a tool to kind of come home to herself and rewrite her own narrative. So that's the gist, without giving away the paint.
How did, I'm assuming you both collaborated on this. How did you come up with the idea?
So I just listened to it a lot, and initially my idea for it, because it's got such a poppy, light sound, I thought it'd be really interesting to juxtapose that with darker images and kind of maybe just more kind of visceral ideas. And so my initial idea was to have her essentially bury herself, like take a suitcase and bury herself. But location was very important to us, and really a deciding factor, and its own characters. So we found this awesome house, and we kind of based the movement around the house. Did I answer that question?
That's a great answer. Talking about the location, that house was very, very interesting. How much work did you have to do to set it up for your shoots?
Like none. And that was the most amazing part. That was the hardest, that was the biggest challenge, to find a house like that or a location like that. I mean, it was just ready to go. And when we saw it, I was like, that has to be our house. That is it. Because there was nothing else that would have given it that vibe. But it was on Airbnb, and it was booked out all the time. And so we had like an 8-hour window that we had to get in and get out.
Well, yeah. And how busy was your makeup team putting this together?
We had one girl, Maya Gandhi. She's amazing, hair and makeup.
Wow.
She knocked it out. Yeah.
They'll say, like, a lot of that was immaculate, just so creative. I thought you had a whole team to work on this. And
we were very small.
Wow. So you got all that done and shooting in 8 hours. That's very impressive.
Yeah, we really got a good flow going. And I'd worked with our cinematographer before. He's from San Antonio, and I'm from San Antonio too. So we just clicked, and we had a good, like, mental shared thing going. And then the crew was all female, so that might have helped. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know your crew is all female. How hard is that?
Well, except for Chris, the cinematographer, Chris Lopez from San Antonio. He's also awesome, but everybody else is female.
How hard is that to put together?
It was really easy. Being in Austin, I think we have a lot of access to just a multitude of filmmakers and creative people and people who want to work on projects. So it was pretty easy here. Maybe somewhere else not so easy. I don't know.
Sure. What was your favorite moment in that 8-hour window?
We ate some delicious vegan burgers. There was a couple of moments of ghost scares because that house was so big and kind of creepy and beautiful that everybody got a little sketched out at moments and was kind of like running through the house. The most fun to shoot and the hardest maybe was the bathtub scene. And it was fun. And Kay was super awesome, and we just wanted to make her comfortable, but it turned out so beautifully.
That bathtub scene. When is that the last thing you shot? I think that was the last scene in the video. Okay. How long did that take to set up? Because I saw there was a lot going on there.
I would say maybe like 20-30 minutes set up, and then we probably shot it for like an hour.
Nice. Okay.
I don't know what the average time would be for shooting something like that. But.
Sure. You guys had a fast turnaround on all of it. Yeah. How do you, in one word, want people to walk away feeling having seen this video?
Inspired, but maybe uncomfortably inspired. Beautifully, uncomfortably inspired.
We'll take it. Yeah. Beautifully inspired. I like that. Do you have any projects coming up?
I'm working on an episodic screenplay with my friend Jonathan Moldenhauer in New York, and I'm really looking for some projects to get going in New Mexico. My husband and I go back and forth, so.
No. Back and forth between Texas and New Mexico. You don't get a break.
It's a long drive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, guys. And this has been so awesome. And I love watching everything online. Y'all have an excellent setup.
Well, thank you. I believe you can catch you in Musical Stories dropping today.
Mm-hmm. And Kay's label, Modern Outsider, is releasing it on the 23rd. So it's going to be out in the big world, too.
Well, thank you so much for dropping by this afternoon.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, I believe you have one last filmmaker to talk to this morning. Hi.
Good morning, Joe.
Morning. You're on the West Coast, that's right.
Yep.
Would you mind introducing your film and yourself?
Sure. So my name is Amy Billhars. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I directed, filmed, and edited Don't Ever Give Up for songwriter Joe Gregory. And it's a song about not giving up on your dreams, no matter what people say or what obstacles you may face. We decided to represent this in two different ways. So we have a forest and a shelter. And the forest is meant to represent everything that may hold you back on your journey to reach your dreams. And what inspired this was the opening lyric in the song that says, if you want to go back to the forest that they put you through, you're welcome, but I'm not going to. And so when filming, I decided I wanted the viewer to feel small, and I wanted the forest to feel overwhelming. So we went out to the Olympic Peninsula and filmed in an old growth forest. So and I filmed low to the ground, so when you look up to the trees, they're massive, like larger than life. And I filmed low to the ground to make the viewer feel small, as to help make the forest feel overwhelming, and also like weaving through the brush to kind of feel lost in this place where you might be discouraged. But in that, and the forest is seen during the verses. And during that time, you do see Joe, who's Joe Gregory. And he, in the song, he has been through this forest before and found his way out. And so in the verses, he's leading you out of the forest. So the camera follows him through. And on occasion, you'll see glimpses of red ribbon. And in the song, there's a reference to ruby red birds in the sky. Those represent your dreams. And the bird is a summer tanager, which was the original title for the song. But then it was changed to Don't Ever Give Up. But to kind of pull that into the video, there's little glimpses of red ribbon fluttering by on occasion. Mm-hmm. And then for the chorus, you see Jay Gregory in a shelter. And the shelter is a place where creativity can flourish. And you see Jay Gregory working on his music. He's working on every instrument, pulling the whole thing together, excited, inspired. And that's to represent that you can't wait for someone to make your dreams come true for you. It takes your own determination and hard work to make that happen. And one thing to note about the shelter is when you see it, you'll see the forest through the windows in the background. And that kind of represents that you may not fully be able to leave the forest, that you may still, during the creative process, have doubts and obstacles that will pull you back into the forest, but you can, with strength and courage and dedication, come back to that shelter, that safe place for creativity. And then there's one last part. It's the bridge. And it for Jay Gregory, that is the point in the song where he's at his most discouraged. So I have him in this area where he's precariously under a fallen tree. There's vines growing everywhere, and they're kind of closing in. And I filming looking down at him, so it's making him look small. But ultimately, for this song, it's mostly wanting to show that when you listen to your heart and you work to make your dreams come true, and just really get into your creative expression, that that is really where you will thrive and be most happy.
Yeah. You went into great detail. I wanted to ask about your location. You covered it, yeah. I guess, yeah. I love the peninsula. I didn't know that's where it was shot. I figured it was somewhere in the West Coast when I saw what trees are around. But how did you choose the location aside from just wanting? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, definitely one in the old growth forest, so it could feel larger than life, this forest. We were fortunate for the shelter to have a friend who lives in a really unique home in Bremerton, Washington, offer his attic for the video. It's just such an unusual place. I think it was an old motel. It's on the shore of the Sound, and so it's just that helped us kind of form the story, having access to that home.
Yeah. Let's say, yeah, your locations were definitely well picked. I think you did a great job showing how small you feel in that forest. And the shelter. I mean, yeah, you really covered everything. You did my. What was the most difficult element of shooting this film?
I will say one challenge we had was we were filming in February, early March. It's still pretty cold outside, and Joe doesn't wear much clothing. So the challenge was keeping Joe warm. Yeah, I felt bad. Even in the shelter, the insulation in the walls wasn't very good. It was very cold in there. We had space heater, but like that was definitely a challenge.
So yeah, it looked like just a t-shirt. So yeah, I mean, not the most comfortable wear for middle of winter in Northwest.
Not at all. Outside, no.
What was your favorite moment shooting this?
The favorite moment was kind of a magical moment where when we were filming in the shelter and he was playing the drums, the wind picked up and started blowing the trees around outside the window like crazy. And it just felt so special. And it made us wish we had access to a fan that could have blown the trees the whole time. But yeah, just for a second in the video, you'll see that the trees are blowing around like crazy.
I think that covers a happy accident too, something that wasn't quite intentional, but yeah, I like this. That's
cool. Thank you.
In one word, how do you want people to walk away feeling?
I would like people to walk away feeling empowered.
Yeah. Do you have any projects coming up?
I do. So Jay Gregory and I are in pre-production for another music video that will be filmed in Oregon. And I'm editing a music video right now. And I'm also a video artist. I create visuals for live music performances. And although there's not a big demand for that right now, I'm continuously filming footage wherever I go and abstracting it in preparation for maybe it being used in a piece in the future.
Yeah, that's great. I believe. Where can we find you? Do you know what block you're playing off the top of your head?
Yes. Music Methods, a collection of music videos.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Yeah, you can catch Music Messages later today on pdxff.com.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to bring in a couple of clips, and then we'll do our next round of directors.
Made a short film called Newspaper News. It's about a woman who reads the news in a newspaper and experiences the terrible truths of our time. It's also about my relationship with the news and how I still try to find hope even if all these terrible things are happening.
Hey, I'm Rooftop, and I'm a fashion designer, filmmaker, and creative director of the Brand Advisory. I'm currently in New York City, and my film is Time Ain't Enough.
Time ain't enough, Lord in my hands. Devil on my shoulder, he enticing me to dance. Devil on my shoulder, fallen angel, why he stand by so much pain in the mirror. Watch by every other chance.
Time is a music video by Glenn the Saiyan that explores Glenn's past as a kid, struggling in school, and how that may affect his relationship with his parents. Despite Glenn's parents wanting him to succeed in school, Glenn understands that his heart really lies in the arts. This concept was very personal to me. As I was writing this treatment, I was contemplating dropping out of school because I knew that the only reason why I was there in the first place was to appease my parents. I ended up staying in school, long story short, and I don't necessarily recommend dropping out to anyone, but did make for a good concept for this video, so shout out to that. Here's Time Ain't Enough. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Jackie Party Scripps, and I directed the music video for K. Astra's Softly Tread. So what really struck me about this song when I initially listened to it was it's got this really dreamy 70s quality to it. But I thought it would be interesting to juxtapose that kind of light poppy sound with more dark images. When we see K. Astra painting the dresses and painting the photos and painting herself, it's her way of externalizing her inner feelings on her outer environment. And it's very abstract and it's very visceral. It can make people feel a lot of different emotions. You can project almost anything onto those images. I'm here in Austin, Texas. I'm a San Antonio native. I love cold brew, great cinematography, and public radio.
My name is Katie Cronin. I'm a writer-director based out of Portland, Oregon. My short film, Costumes, is based on my real-life fear of wearing costumes, and we made it with a small but mighty team based here in the Pacific Northwest. I hope you enjoy my film, and I'd like to thank the Portland Film Festival for screening Costumes and all the wonderful films here at the festival. You are going to drive very slowly to Jess's house. You are going to walk efficiently to the door. Enter the party, shot, shotgun, boom, confidence. You just have to set yourself up for success.
Hi, and welcome back. We're going to have our next group of directors joining us in just a second here. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Would you mind introducing yourselves and your film?
Sure. My name's Chelsea Mcavoy, and this is James Heckner, and I'm the director of Reinventing the Wheel. It's a 60-minute documentary that's screening in Portland this week, and James is my partner and one of the stars of the movie.
No. Well, this is my next question of how did you find this group?
Yeah. It was quite easy. I fell in love. No, James and I met about 7 years ago, and I hate to use the word inspired, but 7 years ago I was inspired. In the disability community, we don't like to use that word too lightly, but I was. And I came over to James's house and I said, I want to do a documentary on this group. I think what you guys are doing is really cool. And then I looked at his face and we ended up making out, and 7 years later we've made the movie.
So where did you come up with the idea of the film, to put it out there, to share this experience?
Well, we required funding from TELUS Story Hives program, which is up here in British Columbia, which is an awesome program for filmmakers. They deliver funding for community stories. And the original documentary was supposed to be about the group here in the Okanagan and the unique wheelchair community here. That's what the movie was supposed to be about. And then as soon as we received the funding, we heard about a man, Dan McLean, up in Kamloops, who was recently injured. And he was on a hunting trip and was shot in the back, became a T4 paraplegic. And we heard about him. He was in recovery. He had just gotten home from rehab. And I thought, I'm going to give this man a call, because we're in a really unique situation where we have a peer who's recently injured, just got home, and it would be really neat to document the first year of life as a paraplegic. I was super nervous to call him, but as a filmmaker, I've learned over time that if you're nervous to do something, you should probably balls up and do it. So I called him, talked to him and his wife, and they were super keen on letting us into their life. They're educators. They worked in the medical system, and we just went from there. Yeah, and we documented Dan in his first year of life, and the group here in the Okanagan rallying around him to get him back on his feet again, so to speak.
It's a pretty traumatic experience, obviously, having a spinal cord injury. So finding two people that were so candid and open to, show their experiences, actually be documented, and, just go through the trials and tribulations of trying to get back on your feet again, because realistically, rehab begins when you go home. So yeah, it's pretty neat to see and rewatch it over and over again, the experience of somebody going through that, and also the integration back into a very vibrant, strong community. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
I'll say the connection that was already established between Dan and I believe Will, that was incredible, though. Not Will?
Yeah, and we agree. Yeah,
that was. Just incredible. I mean, to have that relationship already built, and then to have someone who is able to help you, when you're going through like one of the most traumatic things that's probably ever happened to you in your life.
Yeah. And continues. I mean, obviously to this day, it's pretty neat. So
they're actually, interesting enough, Will and Dan are together going on their first hunting trip this next weekend. Together. So Dan is getting back and getting out and doing what he loves, and now he's doing it with Will, and so it'll be an interesting experience for both of them. Pretty cool.
I'm not sure what weather's like in BC at the moment, but it's definitely rainy season here, so it's pretty fun to go.
In the interior, it's getting chilly. Yeah.
No snow yet, but it's threatening.
We always joke though. We're like, you can only feel a quarter of your body.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
What was the most challenging aspect of putting this film together?
you know what, it came, Joe, it was so organic. I mean, the group here, the things that we documented were already happening. The events were already happening. The Vegas trip was already happening. We literally just had to show up and film it. It was very organic. I mean, maybe, two things. One, finding the right ending to do it justice, I think, was quite difficult. But that happened organically. Dan went up skiing, sit skiing for the first time, and we weren't expecting that much of an emotional reaction from him. And it just kind of happened, and we filmed it, and we're like, of course, that's our ending. That's where we can. He had been so solid throughout the whole film that was the one that made him break. But I also think because I'm in an interabled relationship and, has a partner who's a paraplegic, kind of watching Colleen go through those motions, his wife, and going through those moments of grief, it was so hard for me personally not to just step out of the camera and just give her a hug and, tell her it's going to be okay. But I had to really hold back and let her go through those processes on camera. And I think just empathetically, it was just a little bit hard to watch that from a personal aspect.
Yeah. Now, I usually like to ask documentary filmmakers about how important it is to establish a rapport, to build trust with your subjects, but you have that built in already.
Yeah, most of the guys here sleep on our couch every weekend, so I was able to just bring a camera in while they're sleeping, and while they're, and draining a leg bag, film them. We're all of us are best friends, so it was really easy to film. I've been filming them for 7 years. I've been grooming them for this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But establishing that connection with Dan and Colleen was imperative, and it was quite easy the minute we met. Colleen, Dan, and I were, and James, we're still close to this day, and Colleen and I call each other every day. So.
Yeah. What was your favorite, most memorable part shooting this? I guess you had mentioned the skiing trip, but what was your favorite moment?
I don't. My favorite moments just kind of happened over time. Selfishly, I want to say just developing that relationship with Colleen. I set out to do a film, and I ended up gaining a best friend, and that was pretty unexpected and really cool. So I think that was my favorite part. Do you have a favorite?
I think the best. I mean, the scene with Dan and Colleen and changing a light bulb, I think was probably one of my most understanding parts, because I mean, it's such a challenge to know what to do, but physically not being able to do it. And that, as simple as changing a light bulb in a house, what most of us would probably take for granted, but not physically being able to do that those are probably the most impactful moments that we have. So yeah.
That was a very interesting scene too. Ryan, my producer and cameraman, we just rolled up to Dan and Colleen's house, and Colleen was there with her car open, gloves, and in an environment she wasn't comfortable with. And Ryan and I looked at each other and I'm like, roll the camera. So we just started rolling, and the whole scene just unfolded organically, and she just had this massive breakdown of this should be easy. We should be able to do this, and we can't, and this is what life is like now. And we weren't expecting that. It was just organic and pretty cool sad, but cool to capture that on camera, because that's something that we all go through quite often.
Well, and to roll with it and not, set the camera down to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go with it as a filmmaker.
Don't touch the animals.
Now, I always like to ask about happy accidents, but it sounds to me like everything, just organic. So everything is kind of just unintentional. You kind of just, grab things where you grab them.
Yeah. with this group, you never know what's going to happen. It's an everyday adventure.
Good thing this was PG-13.
Yes.
There you go. What do you want people to take away from this?
You know what? I'll let you take that one because.
I think because this film is very unique and it documents both a person that's been injured and their spouse, because a lot of times we don't typically hear or maybe see the spouse's side of things or feel the spouse's side of things. I think that's the biggest impact of this movie, and it's going to hopefully help a lot of people that are going through similar situations. And like it says in the movie there, life's not done. So, you get over the challenges, work on the challenges, embrace it, find yourself as a support group or establish your own, and just go have some fun. It's a lot of fun hanging out with a bunch of wheelies. So yeah.
I think one of the major things is too, like James touched on, is support groups are not like dull and sitting around in a circle and talking about your issues. We want people to be able to start up peer support groups in their community, but it's all about having fun, supporting each other, going out and doing things, and hanging out with people that can speak your language, that understand what you're going through. And so with this film, we just want to encourage people to, whatever you're going through, seek out those people that can relate to you, that will help build you up in life and be a positive influence.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any projects coming up, you as a filmmaker, or your group? Are you guys planning anything fun coming up?
Actually,
there's a lot of things in the works. I mean, obviously today's day and age is, everything's a little bit on the back burner, but I mean, it would be great to be able to to travel, to developing areas or emerging countries and see, how we can support. How do we, establish, regional community support groups and connections and such, and that's happening. And that's what's really neat about today. The whole COVID situation now, where we're all so connected through virtual, video like this. It just seems to be, it almost couldn't have come at a better time, because it's creating these connections all over the world, literally each continent. And it's almost, if you want to call it encouraging or inspiring, it's pretty neat to see, right?
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad you submitted your film to us, because I feel
thank you.
It's definitely something that needs to be shared. I mean, that support groups are more than just sitting and talking. It's about going out and living life. I really appreciate that message.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having us. We're very humbled to be here and part of the festival.
Well, thank you so much. You can find their film at pdxff.com.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Hey.
Thank you. Let's bring in our next guest. Nope.
Hi. Hi, Joe.
How's it going?
I'm good.
Would you mind introducing yourself and your film?
Yeah, I'm Erin. I'm from Canada. I'm in Toronto currently, and I wrote and directed a film called The Difficult Kids. It's a short film here at Portland.
Could you give us a quick synopsis?
Yeah, so basically it is about a teenage girl who goes viral after an appearance on like a Dr. Phil type of talk show. And from that, she gains a ton of followers online, and she decides to use that to basically convert her online followers into cult followers because she's evil.
I will say your film was one of the most disturbing.
Thank you. It's a comedy, but it's like really twisted at the end, you know?
Yeah, it was a little unsettling. Where did you get the idea? I know you talked about having a mashup of different, right? Where did you?
So I started getting the idea for it around the time that the Nexium scandal kind of broke out. That was like a guy who was leading kind of like this cult in America. And I had an idea with like, I wanted to tell the story of someone trying to create their own cult. And then I also took from the Slender Man murders that happened a while back, where two girls like lured their friend into the woods and stabbed her. So I kind of combined those two things into my own kind of like teenage. Plus, I'm like a young person on Instagram and stuff. Like the internet has totally influenced like a lot of my life, and so I just kind of took those like dark things that are happening in the world and translated them to, you know, the kinds of people online who are continuously doing bad things but are still being praised for them. That's basically the whole of the film.
You got really great performances out of your young actors. I mean, your lead was genuinely frightening.
She's amazing. Yeah, that was her. So Sophie's done a few things background wise in film, but this was like her first kind of speaking role. And I was super excited to like hang out with her. She's the opposite of Abigail completely. She's like so sweet and shy and just so lovely to be around. And then she just like transforms on screen into this like sociopath that just wants to like kill this kid. Yeah.
Yeah. How was it working with such dark material with these young actors?
Yeah, well, I had to talk to their parents a lot just to like inform the parents what was going to happen. You know, there's like a kiss in the thing. It was both of Sophie and Caden's first kiss, which was, we got it on camera. And then there was things like I had to teach Hallie, who plays Jody, how to hit a jewel, because we had a jewel that was like a non-drug jewel. It was just like glycerin and stuff, but I had to like teach her on set, you know, like how to use a vape, which was an interesting thing to do with a 14-year-old. But there's like these dark things that are just kind of translated into like what the youth is, you know, influenced by and all that stuff. And then you see it in the film and you're like, that's insane. That's crazy. Yeah.
What was your most challenging element of filming this?
Well, I'll tell you, the script was really long. Like the script's like 16 pages and I tried a lot to cut the script down, but there was just nothing else that I could do to make it shorter. So we really had to kind of find a way to shoot everything in a small budget. It took us like 5 days. And we had a pretty significant crew for this because we kind of had a big camera department. That was like a major thing. But it was kind of a lot to, especially because this is really the first thing I've ever directed, that I was kind of like navigating like all these different things. But it was a pretty big shoot for a short film, I think. So navigating that as a first-time director was an interesting thing.
Yeah. You could never tell you were a first-time director. I mean, this was.
Thank you.
What was your favorite moment of shooting? Did you have like a favorite scene or?
Oh gosh, when we did we shot for the last day on a green screen to get all the like TV show footage, and just working with Sophie for some of those clips, like I just had her like because she's so shy, and I was just like, do you want to improv? Just like improv and scream like swear words. And she was like, her mom was in the room and she's like screaming the F word at the camera, you know, just flipping chairs. That was a lot of fun. It was like a short day, but just to be able to have that time to play with improv, because I enjoy comedy a lot, was a lot of fun to just have, you know, the kids interpret things how they would interpret them.
You can absolutely leave it up to them. What was something, you know, unintentional that you might have kept in?
Unintentional. Oh, well, speaking of the green screen shoot, I gave Sophie kind of like a line. I was like, can you say, you're all in here in Burbank, but you're probably from Wisconsin. And she didn't know what Wisconsin was. So when she did it, like in the take, she was like, Wisconsin. Like she didn't know. So that was, we all cracked up, but we kept it in the film because it's like hilarious and genuine of this girl who, and we're like Canadians. So like, I can't name all the states. I don't know how many stars are on your flag.
Oh, a lot of them can't name all the states. That's fair.
So it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you want people to walk away feeling from this short?
Well, it is disturbing. That is for sure. I think there's a really important message in the film, which is that, you know, bad people have fans. Bad people can be famous. They can do these crazy things. I always like to reference the like Logan Paul suicide forest thing that happened a couple of years ago, because, you know, he did this crazy thing, but then he still has like millions of fans who like watch his stuff. And what I'm trying to prove in the film is that, you know, where are we able to determine within ourselves what is right and what is wrong? And that fame shouldn't necessarily influence that you should stand by a person, but just ethically, like how can we determine good behavior and bad behavior just without having any kind of bias? Because in the film, Tony is just like totally infatuated with who like Abigail is, because she's famous and she was on TV and like all these like people online are talking about her, but really she's a bad person. And there's like many times where that's obvious, but he just completely, that goes over his head because he's just in love with her, or he's in love with the idea of her. So just knowing that, you know, sometimes you have to step back and see, is this good or is this bad?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a very interesting, very poignant note there. Do you have any projects coming up you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I actually, like a month ago, I finished my first draft of a feature film, which is sick. And then I wrote a short again during the summer, which I am now in the development processes of. So it'll probably be next year that stuff will get kicking.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, you should, being in Toronto, have fewer restrictions on what you can and can't do than we would have. But yeah, we want to thank you so much again. Could you tell us where your short's going to be playing?
Yeah, so it's here at Portland. There's also, it's at the Palm Springs International Comedy Festival this week. And then next week it's going to be at the Portland Comedy Festival.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so there's a lot happening at once right now. It was a long time of like nothing, and then everything's the same week.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. You can find Difficult Kids at pdxff.com. And
Thanks,
let's go ahead and who do we have up next? Wow. Hey.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
How's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a little sunny today, but yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. It's pretty rainy out here in Maryland, but I'm making it work.
Yeah, man. Do you want to introduce yourself? Introduce your film?
Yeah, Chris Farmer. I am the writer, director, and producer of Bacon.
Yeah, can you give us a quick synopsis?
Sure. It's after a questionable or unknown apocalypse. A young couple who's been doing this for a long time decide to make breakfast, but things get a little bit weird and go a little bit bad for them.
Yeah, I have to ask, when did you conceive of and shoot this? Because this almost feels, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how that worked out because it was written maybe 3.5 years ago. It was really originally supposed to be a music video, and the concept was supposed to take place over like a lot more time, like maybe up to a week, and show his slow like deterioration. But I was sitting on it for way too long, and I just said, "Hey, let's just do this." I sent it to my DP, the amazing Kirby Griffin. He sent me a lookbook within an hour, and I was like, "Yeah, let's just get it done." It's kind of weird how topical it is now, all things considered.
I was gonna say, it's like it feels like something you could have, started in March, got finished. Because I mean, you tackled this exactly.
It's weird.
Yeah,
I shot it here, and being in that same space without all the design is kind of weird watching it again. Because I forget that I shot it here. It's like that's that window. Like shoot, like it's no longer time.
Oh, where did you come up with the idea to shoot to make this film?
So yeah, originally it was supposed to be a music video just about a lost love and what you do for the people you care about. And once that didn't go through, I decided to turn it into a script. The original script was maybe 15 pages, and because I am an art guy, I didn't want to show anybody for a long time. I was really self-conscious about it, so I just spent a long time just trimming it down till it kind of made sense, and then trimming down again to make it doable with like being broke and not having any money. So this is what happens after kind of shaving down the edges to get something that actually fits.
Yeah. Was your and I want to talk about your colors real fast. I mean, colors definitely plays an important role in this. Where did you how did you end up choosing how do you wanted to shoot this and this almost these blues and these yellows?
Yeah, so when I sent it to my DP, I don't keep shouting him out because he did an amazing job. Kirby Griffin, he sent me a combination of screenshots from a couple of movies, and some of them were David Fincher movies, and I'm a big fan of his work. I'm a big fan of how he uses colors to kind of paint the scene, but I also want to do something that made Black people look attractive and popping on screen as well. So we found a nice balance between a little bit of the Fight Club vibes with a little more of a cooler look to it. The yellow coming in from the window was a good call too, to kind of clash with that blue. I just kind of wanted things to kind of look a bit otherworldly and dreamlike, because I just felt like it being too flat, too realistic, it kind of just felt like any other zombie movie. So I kind of want to make it look a little bit more 80s neo to it, rather than just kind of make it look basic. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the hardest part of shooting this?
The location. So we legit had a whole abandoned row house in Baltimore that we were going to use, but come to find out, like 2 days before, it had no electricity or no water or no heating. And I was like, yeah, I don't think any of us want to go through that. Our crew wasn't that big. It was maybe 5 of us, but I couldn't imagine sitting on set that long without any kind of water or heat or like utilities that we need. So I just said, like, we can't curse, can we? Like, I said, screw it. Let's just shoot it in my spot. And I spent the entire night before, like, putting newspapers on the wall, like, on the windows, to kind of create that, like, the vibe we have of the windows and that kind of wider shot, first standing against the window. I grabbed like a whole bunch of old newspapers. I went to a thrift store and just grabbed a whole bunch of plants and crap to kind of set it a little bit. It was my first time attempting anything at set design or like art design, but I think it worked out. Like that seeing how it all came out and seeing that I'm still like in that space now and how different it looks, that was probably one of the biggest things I'm proud of.
Well, your set design was great. It definitely felt like, survivors trying to just pull things together. I want to talk real fast, speaking of set design, of how did you possibly get that much egg in the breakfast, that much shell?
It's funny because that montage wasn't supposed to go and last that long, because it was just supposed to be 1 or 2 quick ones, and then she was actually trying to make eggs and she screwed up. He was like, you have to keep that because there's no way somebody could do that if I do it on purpose. He said, no, I was actually doing it right. I was like, that's the worst way I've ever seen somebody. So we had to keep it in there.
Well, that answers my question about happy accidents. Yeah, that was just I was watching like, okay, that's
a fun fact for the fans out there. Somebody actually ate that old plate of eggs and bacon that we had throughout the whole time. Like at the end of the wraps, I saw somebody eating. I was like, I can't believe you're doing that. Like you were legendary for doing that.
How long was that breakfast been that?
Oh man. So the funny thing about that shoot also was I took off work that day, and I'm also on my lunch break here. So we kind of had to work fast, but it ended up taking us maybe, I want to say a little over 10 hours to shoot everything, just because Kirby is such a genius. I don't want to stop him from being meticulous with his lighting. But those eggs and that bacon were in no state of being consumed by anybody who's sane. So I prayed for him afterwards. I was like, man, you a stronger man than me. I hope you had the Lord's side on you in this one, because like that's a lot.
Well, yeah. What was your favorite part of shooting this?
Actually, just getting it done. I think that for a long time, it was a lot of self-doubt and a lot of overthought when it comes to just film in general. And it was the first time I committed to something like this in this scale for a long time, like having an actual DP come in, having lights, having like a legit crew as opposed to all the the homegrown stuff I'm used to doing. So it was a good experience, and it also helped me be more confident in doing this more often, and how each of these things are just another learning process and more time to practice and just get to do what I love. So it just showed that like it's willing to sacrifice a Friday and a weekend to do something that you want to do. So yeah.
How do you like people to walk away feeling?
I heard you ask this like 5 times a day, and I still can't come up with a good answer. So, I'm hoping people come out just enjoying what they saw. I hope they come out with I wouldn't say feel good story, but I hope they just come out like just feeling better about their experience, and I hope that it just shows people that they can like do whatever they want. Like if I can do this out of my crappy place, then sky's the limit. Follow your dreams. I hope they just come away just feeling like they just saw a good story at the very least.
Yeah. Until the last couple seconds, it was a pretty sweet story. But
yeah. No, that was kind of tough with the tone, because as going through as many edits as this thing did, just trying to make sure that it ends in a way that at least it evokes an emotion out of somebody. Even if they just say, "Oh, that sucks," like that's good that they felt something.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any projects coming up you want to talk about?
Yeah, actually, COVID has been a blessing and a curse, because I don't think I've written this much in my entire life. They also showed me that that writing is something I can do without having money. So I have a short that I'm editing right now. I'm going in pre-production for another one, and I'm hoping to have another one at least shot by the end of the year. So I have 3 projects coming up. I'm hoping to be finished by 2021. Yeah.
Well, good luck with all that, man.
Thank you.
Tell us what block you're playing in.
I think it's reverse. The site still confuses me. This is my first festival, and the first one being digital kind of made it a little bit cumbersome. But I think it's in reverse. Hopefully by the end of this year, it could be on Vimeo and any other streaming platforms. I'm still going through the festival circus. Whiskey and applying to everybody that would take me was wasn't the best idea for waiting. But so you can catch me there, and yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, and you can catch Bacon at pdxff.com and the In Reverse Shorts block.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. I think we have a couple more filmmakers. Looks like somebody had to run, but we have a few more left for you. Hi there.
Hello. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you?
Or good evening, maybe.
Yes, actually, yeah. It's 7:24 here, so it's the evening. Hence the sort of dusty atmosphere. Yeah.
Could you introduce yourself and your home, please?
So my name is Sammy Patterson, and I've got a music video called "Starts with a Kiss" by Polychrome. Yeah, screening at the Portland Film Festival. Check it out on the website, guys. Yeah.
Can you give us the quick synopsis here?
So the song is kind of a, I don't know if you've seen the film Drive, but it's very kind of 80s sort of synthy, romantic. Obviously with the title Starts with a Kiss, it kind of, you can kind of assume it's going to be romance based. But the video is very much in keeping with the song's kind of, it's got like pulsating bits and synthy bits, and then it goes really quiet, and it has like a really delicate sort of female vocal to it. And so the video is kind of following a girl and a few, I guess, relationship patterns that have both started, I guess in this instance, with a kiss. Very like on the nose. But so there are two sort of settings, and they kind of represent her kind of mental setting, both literally and figuratively. So she's sort of meeting this guy in a beach, and it's all very kind of natural and calm, and perhaps more of a friendshipy type of relationship. And that kind of goes wrong, and things get a bit heated, and they're involved with water, and there's lots of sort of fighting in the sea. And then it kind of flips. She gets like flashbacks, which then lead to us seeing her in this other context where she's more sort of sexually involved with this other guy in a party in a forest, and it's all a bit kind of crazy, and you kind of get the sense that she's sort of tearing away from one experience and like throwing herself in a new experience because of the old experience. So they're kind of, those two relationships are feeding off each other. And I guess the idea is that starting with a kiss, it's like kind of, I guess, a story of innocence, and like where your relationship story, you know, where all of our stories start. You know, there's a first kiss somewhere. Like some of it's terrible, some of it's like stupid, like behind the bike sheds or in an alleyway or something. Often it informs, like a chain reaction, the rest of your relationships, sometimes even for the rest of your life. And so I was kind of interested in the sort of those dynamics and how they relate to each other. And the song is very much kind of like a response, a give and take response, with that kind of like soft female voice, and then a sort of almost response to that where it gets thicker and it's a bit more sort of sexual, and then it goes, and then it retreats back, and it's more sort of a cerebral kind of sound. So fairly abstract. But yeah, the visuals are kind of simple in a way, but the way they interact with each other is kind of related in a kind of abstract way. And I guess, yeah, I would say it's mainly about the origin of people's relationships and the sort of physical origins of those, and how they sort of overlap into the next one, and how it makes perhaps future relationships escalate or change. And almost they're not like a pure form of like how a relationship may be between two people. It's often a response to who you were with somebody else. So that's kind of ish how it's going. If that made any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you did a great job answering that and my next question about where did this idea come from. But how about your locations? How did you end up choosing what looked like a club in the beach?
Yeah, so the idea of filming this footage, it's all about, all filmmakers will agree on this one, like it's about like what you've got and what you can use and what doesn't cost so much. So my family are from Wales, and so there's an area in West Wales where there's loads and loads of really amazing beaches, and they're not beaches that you might find in like California or somewhere like exotic, but because of the weather where it's sort of rainy, but then you get some sunny spells, but it's all very chaotic. The beaches there are kind of have a lot of mystery about them, like they're quite rainy, so they're kind of a mixture of like New Zealandy rocks, but then you do have a tranquil kind of remote beach where it's sort of untouched and aren't many people there, which is great for filming when you sort of, you know, you just literally turn up and be like, I'm just going to film here. No one seems to know or care what I'm doing. So you sort of, you know, they have loads of little, and there's this cove called Three Cliffs Bay. I recommend that beach to a lot of filmmakers in the area. I guess not many people where you guys are going to be near Wales anytime soon, maybe, but like maybe if they are, there's this really nice beach called Three Cliffs Bay, and it's quite a mystical setting, and I thought it was quite good for like a physical location that would also be like a callback for something mental, because it's such a magical looking kind of place. So my auntie has a farm, they have a farm in Wales with like horses and sheep and goats and stuff. And so I was like, I don't suppose like a bunch of people could stay at your farm. So like I had people from London, which is where I'm based, literally stay in my family's house and in their farm. And so obviously the beach was near there. So it was kind of like coordinating something that was possible for me, just being like a person and not like a company or whatever. But also selecting something appropriate from that location, which worked really well. And yeah, there was just like a forest nearby, and I was trying to location scout on when I went to Wales. And again, my auntie hooked me up with someone who had like some land behind their house, and it was quite like crazy, really. There's like a massive pond, and it just meant that we could film there without any kind of there's loads of land in Wales. I don't know if you're familiar with Wales, but it's just like loads and loads of greenery, loads and loads of land, loads of hills. So there's kind of more land available as opposed to a city where I'm from, London. There's like you walk one step and someone owns it and they're like, why are you here on my land? Whereas in Wales it's kind of like a bit more free. You can walk around, you know, there's beaches and forests. And so I managed to find a bit of land that wasn't sort of like owned by a government or anything. It was like privately owned, but it wasn't fancy. It was just like a bunch of trees. And so that was going to be the sort of foresty, fantastical side to the stuff. Yeah, that's why I chose those locations. So it was immediately like, what do I have? What could I use that sort of won't cost me money because I don't have it? Then I just sort of using that, walking around and having things jump out at me, go, oh, that'd be amazing to film in there. Or, you know, asking people like, hey, have you got a bunch of trees you could lend me in a forest? Oh, you do? That's weird, but yes, I'll take it. So yeah, a lot of that going on. Yeah.
Aside from having to pick a location that's just available to you and having to deal with the weather at the beach, what was your most difficult aspect of filming this?
So definitely weather related, I guess, because we had to shoot the foresty bit in the night because I wanted loads of like lights and for it to be kind of all magical. And I was basically cheating not having a studio, right? So if you're in the world and it's dark, it's like a free studio because you can like light it and it looks like you're in a massive expanse place, even if you're in some like crappy sort of tiny piece of land. But it started raining. And so obviously you had loads of lighting equipment and stuff. And the fog machine that I wanted wasn't working because the generator wasn't working, which meant a lot of the other lights didn't work on the night. And so a bunch of my friends, my best friend Andre, I was like, you see this pack of cigarettes? Right, okay, you're smoking those all around the camera. And my other friend was vaping, and they would literally just be blowing the smoke right in front of the camera. So like all of the, and I was like, this is a great fog machine, man. You can't even tell. But they all just go, okay, I'm doing it. And I was like, you're doing great. And you can even see like in some of the shots, Marius, who's on a vape, he was in dancing. I was like, you're a dancer, so I just dance around and vape loads. He was just like trying to blow loads of smoke, and it worked. Like all the smoke is real smoke, but it's directly from the lungs of two men. So like improvisation in that situation was quite fun. But yeah, that was definitely the probably most difficult bit. And it was raining, and the actress Allegra, it was really late at night. She was in fishnets, so it was like she was soaking wet and it was cold. You know, it was pretty mental. So, but it worked in my favor because I think everyone was slightly wet, so it kind of made it a bit more sexy. Because her hair was wet and everyone looked sweaty like they were in a club. And I was like, this works, it's fine. Yeah.
What was your favorite moment then?
Probably so Allegra, who I met a while ago, we've been talking about the concept of like this relationship kind of dynamic and the whole kind of one informing the other and how it can really spiral into problems if you kind of follow the path without checking in and spinning the dial in a direction that you're kind of in tune with, as opposed to reacting to things. And we've been talking about this sort of scene with this guy for quite a while, Harry, at the beach. And when they went in the water, it was all improvised basically. So, we'd have kind of like a script, but they would just sort of, having read that and digested that, they would just do what felt right. And so, there was like 7 hours of footage for all of this. It was loads, but they kind of improvised. And it was just so amazing because it was the longest time that I'd seen two actors that I've worked with, because I'm, a noob. For like maybe 15 minutes, they did this whole scene without stopping, and it was just incredible watching it. And their emotions were so kind of real, like in the clips in the music video, where you see them sort of fighting, and she's kind of angry with him. It doesn't look like someone's being angry at someone in like an Amdram theatre or something. You really kind of feel it, and I was quite proud of them seeing it live. And it was just quite an experience, really, just because obviously I love directing and making films. You don't get to do it that often because it costs money and you have to get your army involved and everyone has to be free at the same time. So just watching that moment, I was like, we're here, we're making this stuff. So I guess watching that happen and just experiencing like the magic was probably the best bit. Yeah.
No. So it all did come together well. What was your pardon me. How do you want people to walk away feeling?
I think I'd like people to walk away. I mean, it's a strange one because obviously when it's entangled with the entanglement with the music, that there's something that the video gives and that the music gives, so it's like a partnership in that way. And the thing that the music gives, which I think the video complements, is a sort of like, definitely there's loads of nostalgia there. And there's sort of like a weird tension also with the music. And it kind of, I guess if it makes people think of relationships that they've had, because it's sort of like there's a fine tension between something that's nice, something that's pure, and something that's like not pure and kind of chaotic. And that there's a relationship between the two. And that moment where Allegra, in the middle of the party, there's this pause in the song where she's at the phone box on the phone, almost like a moment of clarity, like, what am I doing? Like, there was a guy and he was kind of okay, and then it all went wrong. And I think having that pause is quite a useful thing for people to have in their own lives, whether they're in, a relationship they're not sure of, or they're thinking about having a relationship or whatever it is. Just having that like phone box moment where you sort of check in with yourself and figure out what's gone on in the context of your own life and your own experience and what society's putting on you, whatever anyone else putting on you. Just like checking back, stepping back, and viewing your situation, and just being able to readjust what you're doing or decisions that you're making according to something that you actually want to do, as opposed to what you're reacting to.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. So, perspective, I guess. Well, yeah.
Yeah, perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any projects you'd like to share? Anything coming up?
Yeah, I've got 2 shorts coming up that I'm sort of working on, that obviously in COVID has taken a while, but that's probably the next thing that I'll be putting out there. And I've also got my next project that's sort of like done, and I'm doing the post on it, but I'm working on my first feature film, which is really exciting because obviously that's kind of like the goal. And I've watched a few features on the Portland Film Festival of the online submissions and stuff, and I found it really inspiring. You know, some people have made it with like $1,000 or whatever, and I'm like, wow, you know, that's kind of the dream. And obviously, once I've made a feature, I'll be like, yeah, I've done it. So I've been working my way up to that moment. So I'm gonna make my first feature now, and I feel ready for it. So that probably won't be for another year or so, but I'll be writing that and then doing the rest of the stuff. But yeah, it's been really fun. I didn't know actually that you could enter music videos into festivals. I spoke to Festival Formula, and they kind of help with like festival submissions and stuff, and they advised me of people that actually are able to, you know, appreciate that kind of work. And I was like, what? This is crazy. So yeah, I was really pleased that even was a thing, and I got to submit it, and yeah, really happy to like be involved in all of these kind of chats and listen to everyone else's chats. It's like a free lesson, you know, hearing how everyone's done their stuff is really, really cool, because they're all great people and they're all doing it because they love it and there's a meaning behind it. And yeah, so yeah, I guess shorts soon, then a feature is my next thing.
Well, good luck with everything. I believe we can find you on the Music Chronicles short block dropping today. Yep. You can find that at pdxff.com. Thank you so much, Sammy, for stopping by this evening, and good luck with your feature.
Thank you. Bye.
I believe we have one last director we're talking to this morning. Oh, hi there.
Hello.
Hi. Could you introduce yourself and your film?
My name's Kara Harold, and my film is called 39 and a half. And it's, would you like me to elaborate?
Yes, please.
39 and a half is a feature film. And I was just listening to the woman before me about how she's looking forward to doing a feature. And I'm looking forward to doing a short. But 39 and a half is a feature film about a woman who is you know, approaching 40, and she wants to have a kid, but she's not in a relationship, and she works sort of a precarious job with strange hours, but she's determined to make it happen. And so she sort of is like, she asks a lot of advice to a lot of her friends, and then she's in San Francisco, so it's like she also, you know, goes to acupuncturists and psychics and all other sorts of advisors that populate San Francisco, and how she can make this happen for her at the very last minute.
Yeah. Could you tell us where you came up with the idea to make this film?
Well, I made a film prior to this called Bachelorette 34, which was a documentary about my mother's pressure on me, my real mother's pressure on me to get married as soon as possible. And 39 and a half was supposed to be it's a sequel to Bachelorette 34, but I decided to try to, rather than make it a documentary, I scripted it and cast actors to play my family members. So it's not a biographical story, but it's a sequel to a documentary.
Well, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. How have you, if you've screened it, have you seen it resonate with people? It's definitely a grounded story, something very relatable. But how have you seen it resonate with audience?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't want to give away the ending to the film, but people have responded to the ending. You know, so that seems to resonate. And it seems to resonate most with people who are at this juncture in their life, which is women in their 30s, or and trying to decide, like, do I want to have a kid or not, given my whatever my circumstances are, because of course things have changed with COVID, so everybody who's a parent is sort of struggling right now, probably. But it's sort of a juncture that women face, and it's kind of a very modern juncture, because we're all trying to succeed in our careers as well, and and we have a biological clock that is real, that unfortunately we don't have the luxury that some men have.
I just missed that scene where she's going through, and that man in the nursing home is still a viable option. He's like, I'm still out here doing, yeah. That's
yeah, it's kind of yeah. There's a fertility doctor in my film that says, that women's that society and women's what do I want to say? That biology and society for women are out of sync.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it were my preference, as it is with a lot of men's preference, like I think having a kid when you're 50 would be great. When you finally get things established, and yeah. The name is called. Oh, can you rename name? I see a chat. Oh, okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
I hope this is going to be edited.
You used multiple mediums in your making this. Partly animated for some things that in shot. How difficult was that to throw together?
Well, actually, this film is meant to be a hybrid film, which includes documentary material too. So I'm actually working on that version right now. I was up for tenure at a university where I'm a professor, and so I had to finish something under a timeline, and I couldn't finish the hybrid film in time that incorporated the documentary and the fiction and the animation all together. So I'm actually going to have two versions of this film, and one is the second version will be primarily documentary footage with maybe a quarter fiction. So that's kind of my shtick as a filmmaker. Is I'm really interested in collage filmmaking that include multimedia such as animation and documentary and narrative and even live performance. But I'm not going to do that with this film, but I've done a live documentary before. So I like to see how form shapes content. And my background is more sort of in experimental filmmaking more than it is in where I went to graduate school. I never took a screenwriting class or a fiction filmmaking class. It was all experimental and documentary filmmaking. So this was really, making 39.5 was really my education in fiction filmmaking. So I was teaching myself while I was making it.
I did a good job making this narrative. It definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have what was your most challenging moment? I guess I was asking.
I think that I should have taught myself fiction filmmaking with a short film rather than a feature.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything was brand new to me. Everything about fiction filmmaking was brand new to me. And I was able to get some funding from the university where I teach, which is Syracuse University, by creating a class called Onset Production. So most of the crew were students. And so they were learning too at the same time that I was learning, their professor. So I was like maybe so we were all, it was a huge learning curve for all of us. But then we were working with professional actors, you know, who were, you know, Screen Actors Guild actors. So I think they, you know, so it was sort of an interesting, you know, experience for them to jump into a set with all these newbies, you know, but they were generous and kind and did good performances. So it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. No, I'll say my favorite scene, because it just captured me, was he's running down the block trying to get that package he gets from the fertility clinic home. Did you have a favorite scene, favorite moment from this film?
Let's see. That's interesting. That scene, either people love that scene or they hate it. Because it's kind of this sort of like surreal, sort of in your head sort of moment, you know? And actually that scene came from reality where, I mean, of course I didn't get a big red box to carry home. But it was actually pretty big. It was actually like 2 feet tall. And I left the clinic. It was actually a sperm bank. And with the sperm in this 2-foot box. And I went to the grocery store afterwards with that box. And I ran into like this documentary filmmaker who I think is amazing. And I'm trying to hide the box. From her, and like, you know, and she's like, oh, where are you coming from, blah blah blah. But then it turns out many years later I found out that she had her kids via sperm bank too, so I could have just been open and not shameful about the whole thing. But so that's sort of where that scene sort of came from. But yeah, I don't know what my favorite scene. I think my favorite scene is actually an animation, which is sort of the anxiety with the Let T Gray song playing underneath it, which is a punk band. So I worked with I had this really great animation team, head by this woman named Sylvia Roberts, and it was just really fun to work on the animations and creating sort of the interior space through the animation. So I think those collaborations were really my favorite part. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you want people to walk away from this movie feeling?
I guess, I mean, I'm a teacher and I have a lot of students who say my stories aren't important, you know, like I've lived this sort of like boring life, like who cares about me and my stories, you know? And I think everybody, and that's part of the reason why I make autobiographical films, I think, is because I am inspired by other personal storytellers and personal filmmakers who feel like the diversity of stories and individual experiences is actually important and valid. And so for me, the impetus for making this film was sort of, it came from a place of trauma for me. I mean, not a huge trauma, but a trauma of, you know, of facing fertility challenges when I really wanted to have kids. And you know, I think that's valid to share that with other people, particularly when I was going through it, it felt shameful, you know? And so I think by making a film about it and sharing it with others, it sort of transformed that shame into sharing experience, I guess. So.
Yeah. Do you have any upcoming projects you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm making the hybrid version of this film, so it sort of features it has like multiple storylines that go on at the same time. But I shot 5 years of documentary material of making the film with all the students and the chaos that ensues behind the scenes of making a feature film for the first time, and sort of the challenges of being a first time director. So that's one storyline, and the other storyline is the fiction film that runs simultaneously, which is trying to have a kid. And so and then it also I interviewed, or I filmed all of the actors who auditioned to play my mother and my father and my family members. So it's an interesting, all of those auditions are very interesting because the people who are auditioning to play my family are tell their own personal stories around the content. And so it goes deeper beyond my own story, but it goes into sort of like more of a collective experience of actors and artists who are sort of facing this work, art, family balance, but also kind of like what you have to do and what sort of choices people make in order to become an actor or a filmmaker. So there's that. 39 and a half, the sequel. It's going to be called Smarter Goals. and then I'm working on a collaboration with the illustrator for 39 and a half, and she and I are co-writing a short film where we are taking two characters from a Hitchcock film, Midge from Vertigo and Annie from The Birds, sort of marginalized characters from Hitchcock, and we're retelling their stories we're pulling them from sort of a patriarchal storyline and retelling their stories with a feminist slant. And they go out for a night on the town in San Francisco, hoping to save Annie from her fate from being attacked by the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a very interesting project.
Yeah.
Watch it. Thank you so much, Kara, for joining us.
Thank you. I hope that was coherent. It's always hard to do live interviews.
I guess, yeah. You can catch 39 and a half at pdxff.com.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I believe we'll have one more guest, and we will go a little over time for Comcast, but you can still watch our stream on YouTube and on Facebook. Hi, good afternoon.
Hello. I might say good evening because it's nighttime here.
Oh, that's right. You're in France, though. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good, doing great. A bit exhausted because it's the end of my day, but I'm very happy to join.
Oh, thank you so much for stopping by. Would you mind introducing yourself and your film?
Well, my name is Charlotte, and I co-produced and co-directed a music video entitled Endless, which participates in Portland Film Festival in the music video category, I believe.
Yeah. How did you come up with the idea for this film?
Well, this music video is a single shot sequence, and we shot it at 9 times, and we blocked a whole road in southern France to be able to achieve it. And in this film, we follow a couple of young lovers, and the male one is actually dealing with an alcohol problem and violence problem. He's abusive towards his young girlfriend. And this sequence is them seemingly having trouble in their car, which is smoking, and we see that they had an accident. They get out of the car and we see him reliving a sort of evening, like they reach their living room, everything is on the road. We recreated a lounge, sort of, and he's being abusive towards her, and there is a climax and twist at the end. And this is like, as we said in the pitch, it looks like farewell because it ends badly. And we wanted to create a metaphor for, well, abusive relationships.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I did not realize this was a one-shot film. This is very impressive.
It
You
is
said
actually.
9 takes. Wow.
We needed 16 takes to achieve the one my partner, who was the main director for this music video, like the one he really preferred. And we cheated a little bit because there's a hidden cut somewhere, but still it was shot with a Steadicam, and we were about 15 on technical team behind the camera.
Now, I say one shot's probably difficult enough, but what was your most difficult element of creating this short film?
The most difficult aspect, there were a few actually. The singer of the song, when we fell in love with that song, and the singer is actually 19 years old. She's very young, and she really wanted to act and portray this young female character in this music video, which we came up with for her to illustrate her song. And she needed to practice her acting so that it could be flawless on the filming set. And she did an amazing job, and training her was one of the challenges. Another challenge was to deal with the short amount of time we were allowed to block the road with so that we could film it. So we were a little bit constrained regarding the duration of time allowed on that road.
Yeah. What was your most memorable part filming? First of all, how long did you have to shoot this?
Well, we were given about 3 to 4 hours just to settle and get the equipment and lighting ready, because it was shot at night time and there was no lighting on that road. So everything was created in terms of lighting and mood. Then we had 2 hours filming. Knowing that there's actually special effects makeup in the end, because it's a car accident still. So that's the reason why we needed a hidden cut, because, well, the characters evolve somehow. And yeah, we had many tasks to achieve in a very short amount of time.
2 hours. That's okay. Yeah. What was your favorite part of putting this together?
Favorite part, it was amazing because we are young producers and directors. So my partner Kevin Payet, he's from Reunion Island and he lives here in southern France with me. I am his main producer and he's my main director when we create fiction or music videos. So yeah, we've been working together for 3 years. And my favorite part of preparing for this music video specifically was to work with him, because he had this very clear idea of the storyline, and my job was to gather the budget and to find the right technical team and to make it possible for him to achieve it. So I love working with and for him. And another part which I loved is that this little project, because it was a very small budget music video, it gathered some people that were unexpected. For example, we needed a broken car, which had a real accident so that it could seem real, that they actually had an accident in the music video. And so I called a total stranger whose number I found online, because he's recycling old engines and cars. I was like, oh, I'm making this music video and I would need a car like this color and broken this way, that kind of accident. And the guy, he was so involved. He did it for free. He brought the car and he even smashed it a bit more so that it would be a little bit, easy to believe. It was more believable. And he was so into it. And when we shared it, he was so happy to post it online and share it too. So it was just one of the examples, but such projects allow us to gather unexpected groups of people. And this is the best part, I believe.
Wow, that's very impressive. I didn't know you actually crashed a car.
It was a truly crashed car previously, and it was made worse thanks to this guy. He brought a chainsaw, and he actually dug more and more into the front of the car. It was very funny to watch.
I'm sure he had fun. Guess was there any happy accident, something you didn't quite intend, but you kept in because you felt it made everything better.
Excuse me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear your question. Can you please repeat, please?
Sorry about fix my audio.
Oh.
Any better?
I can hear you. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, perfect. All right, thank you. Okay. Now, what did I just ask? Sorry, I got distracted super quickly. Oh, happy accidents. Was there anything you hadn't quite intended to, include in your film, or even behind the scenes, like a guy bringing a crushed car and chainsaw, something that you felt you should definitely keep because it just enhanced everything?
Yeah, it was amazing because in this particular team, everybody wanted to bring something out of themselves so that it would be pushed even further. But it's all about filmmaking, right? Once you're there, everybody wants to push it. There's one thing we didn't really intend. We allowed our actors to improvise sometimes, so it was incredible because our main actor, the male character, this guy, he's used to acting for commercials mostly, and fashion videos. And so here he had to embody an abusive boyfriend. It was the first time for him to embody a dark character. And my partner Kevin, the director, told him, maybe you should grab her, like grab the female character by the neck or by the mouth, by the jaw, to really be more violent without hurting her, so that she would be surprised, because this was not scripted. And he played along, and as she was surprised, it was even more believable. So there were some parts, some bits of improvisation which were really enjoyable for us from the actors.
No, that's definitely a great performance on his end. Yeah. Anything you want people to know about this film?
Well, I used to be in a sort of abusive relationship myself, more than 3 years ago, before I met my partner, who's now working with me. And I don't know how to qualify this, but to define this, but I wouldn't be making films or my photography, because I'm also a professional photographer. I wouldn't be creating so many images and telling true social stories about abuse, or we're making another movie through the modeling industry, denouncing the abuse of young models by photographers and agents. And I wouldn't be trying to denounce these things and to create committed material if I hadn't met my partner. And I think that this particular music video was the start of our way to commit to those causes and try to tackle them thanks to filmmaking. So my partner really is my best friend, my partner in life, and creating films with him, I wouldn't have made this music video without him.
Oh, that's amazing. And that covers my next question about what you have coming up, and that sounds like such an important project to be working on. Would you like to share anything more about it?
Yeah, actually, right now, so we are in the phase of finishing the filming part of our next committed short film. It will be about 25-30 minutes long. And it's a film which will follow a young model. She will be abused by a photographer, and there will be a twist at the end of the film. And this whole movie itself will be a metaphor for models not having full control of their own body image through social media because of mean people or people who are not benevolent enough with their power. It's about abusive power, photographers, and all of these issues. It's also a film dedicated to consent. And another feature film we're working on via our other production company It's an adaptation from an LGBTQ comic book, which was published in 2017. And this feature film is going to follow the dark psyche of a homosexual couple in arts, because two men are together. One is a very famous photographer, and the other one does not understand why he hasn't taken him in pictures yet. So that's, all about exploring the relationship we have with our own body, the way people can picture us, and other issues satirizing all around this.
Yeah. All right, Charlotte, I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Can you tell us what block you'll be playing in?
Excuse me?
Your short block? You happen to know which block you'll be playing?
Which box we're playing?
Yeah.
You mean within the festival?
Yes.
Is it the music video category, isn't it?
It should be, yes. All right, well, thank you so much. You can find her short at pdxff.com.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank all of our directors for their outstanding work putting these films together. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Don't forget to go to pdxff.com to check out all these amazing films. And you can join us in the virtual lobby at pdxff.com to talk to filmmakers or just to chat about films. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.